Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I got my very first paid job. It was my first month straight out of school and I got my first job. It was good money. And then within the first month, I also got a second offer for my second job. Now, yes, I went through an interview session and I could say part of myself believes that I convinced the panel that I was good, which might be true. But at the same time, these interviews were difficult. I finished my school in June and then end of that June, early August. Yes, end of that June, in July, I had to take up the interview session. I didn't have much experience on interviews. I had been interning before during my university stay at various companies, and this was one of the big companies that I would want to work at. So the interviews were a bit difficult, but the fact that I got the job was mainly because I had a portfolio with me. So these guys had my CV on their desk, and they also had their laptops hooked up to one of my biggest website that I ever created in university, which unfortunately right now it's not up yet, but it's eventually going to be up sometime. And most of the questions that we're asking were technical questions related to the job itself, but they were referring to them as the way I would have done them in my website. So they would look at my website and then say, okay, here you had a shopping cart. Tell us, if you have a shopping cart and then you have an object for maybe a shopping list, how would you add items into the shopping list and remove them? So with that, they're just trying to see, well, if you're trying to implement a queue or a stack, how are you going to do it? What are the methods you're going to call up or the functions that you're going to call up? Now, they would never say explain to us in PHP or explain to us in Java. They'll just say explain how you do that. Now, it doesn't matter whether they are a technology company which their standard is developing in Java, but they want to see if you get the concept. So in my side, I developed a website in vanilla PHP. I don't know if we had frameworks like Laravel back then. We did have Symfony and this other one, Cake, I think so. Yeah, but it was vanilla PHP. I was just trying out, I was just learning something new. So I went straight with vanilla PHP and it was fun. So my explanations were based on PHP. I got that, I could see that, yes, I think I've gotten it. But there were other questions where they would just say, okay, I remember this very well because it was the director of the application department. He was having coffee and then he just took the styrofoam cup and the side dish right there, and then it was like, given this is an object and something like that, how would you abstract this from the, but he was trying to get the concept of abstraction and how I would implement it. But he mentioned in Java. It messed me up. I came out honestly and said, okay, I know that if given the Java interface for a day or two, I'll do it. But then right now, I can explain it in PHP. And he was like, okay, go ahead. I explained it in PHP. I could tell that, okay, this was great. I think I'm getting there. So what I'm trying to say is that interviews are not really all about the specific techs or the specific technology stacks that you do. It's about trying to understand you, trying to understand your capabilities, trying to understand what you know and how you implement that. So they want to see if you follow certain rules or certain standards. Which type of standards do you follow in terms of typing? Are you the guy who sticks to tab or sticks to spaces? Or maybe you use both, you don't have a specific one. Things like those, okay? So when you're trying to apply for an interview, when you're trying to apply for a job, it doesn't matter whether they're looking at five. Okay, the experiences matters. Maybe if you say you're just straight out of school, straight out of teaching yourself code. Yes, you can't be applying for VP positions or chief positions or even maybe lead positions because you need to get to know these things. So still, if you're looking for an entry level job and you know that you qualify for that, even if they say 5 years experience and you've just been writing code for 3 months, go for it, because at the interview, all they want to see is that, are you able to handle some of these development tasks? And by the time they're calling you for an interview, they're already conversed with your resume or CV. They're already conversed with the cover letter that you wrote, your introduction. So when you're there, just become and try to work your way through as a normal development class. So take it as a bootcamp course or take it as a final exam in your bootcamp. What I got from there is that when I got into the job, when I got the job and I reported to work, within the first few days, I had already understood that within the company, they were developing a tool that was almost similar to my website. So for them, it was like, okay, we have this too. We need more manpower. Do we get someone who we start from scratch, teaching, getting the concept? We have this developer, he's developing something like this, and then he already knows the concept, what he wants. That's similar to what we want. So it doesn't matter what technology we're using, but he will get the hang of it, so he's going to deliver it. Because in the interview, they asked me that, okay, we see that you have this. Obviously, you're going to want to make money from it. Are you okay if we buy you? I was like, that's a tricky question, but yeah. So portfolios matter. You might develop an application yourself that eventually a potential recruiter is looking at. So you might develop an app that handles data collection for service. You might find that at one of your interviews, the job that they want the developer for is that they want a developer to create survey data collection too. Something you already have in your portfolio. You stand a high chance of getting that job, even if you have 2 years experience, than someone who has 7 years experience in software development. So these things shouldn't put us back, because I remember on my second interview, that was 2 months after I finished school as well, the other candidates were that they had been in the industry of software development for 2 years, some 3 years, but I still got the job. Because another thing is that those who have already been in the industry are going to request more pay than you. You're just fresh from school, you're just fresh from a boot camp. You don't really need a lot of money to start. You just need some money to get in. So even the entry qualification pay that the company has is going to be enough for you. After a few months, you're going to pull up your socks, up the game, you're going to get promoted, you go upwards, and then you get to a point where, okay, now you're in that stage where the money is growing. But then eventually, if you're in it for the love of code, yeah, I think you're going to love it. Maybe in terms of motivation or inspiration, I feel that even though software development is among the highest demanding jobs right now, so if you have that skill, you're pretty much close to guaranteed that you're going to get a job in the industry, a nice paying job. It's not that thing where you just say, okay, I want to change my career, I need something to pay me more money, so I'll go for software development. It gets boring very quick, and it contributes to a lot of developers burnout. So it should be that thing that when you're bored, you don't have time, instead of playing a game, you can write code. It should be that thing that it's part of your routine. You have times when you play video games, and then you have times when you write code. That's when you're going to make it in this life of software development. Because honestly, software development can be tiresome and boring at times. Yeah, so I think on my side, I just wanted to share that, but I plan to share more on how I made it fresh from school into the industry and how I'm still making it. I'm a good developer, yes, but I know a lot of developers, my peers, that are way better than me. Well, you can relate when you're learning from me, so I'm trying to say learn from an average developer, because if you're new in the game and then you learn from the most experienced developers, like those hardcore developers, it tends to seem as if it's too complex, and then you lose the hang of it. I remember in both of my first and second jobs, my managers or my senior developers were those guys who were hardcore developers, experienced, and they loved what they do. When we're having a pair programming, they would stay there and you'd be writing, and they would catch a bug or they would catch an error before you even finish. You're like, what? How did you do that? And then when it's their turn to write, you'd be lost. One of my managers was writing code in Vim. Now, while writing, I'm following, and then you just see the screen splits. He's in the bottom screen and he's writing code, and then he's copying a line or a function from that split screen to the previous screen on top, and then by doing that, I'm lost. So I'm going to try to be teaching you how to write code in this channel at an average level, so that if you're a beginner, you can easily understand, and if you're an average beginner, you can easily grow. And if you're an expert beginner, and if you're an expert developer, you can easily see maybe the things that I would improve, and then you can help me out, teach the beginners or those developers or just those tech guys or any tech enthusiasts who like to learn code to do it better. All right, guys, thank you for watching. My name is Jacob Mzia, and I'm going to be with you throughout the way. Have a blast, guys.